The chilling silence that falls after a scream is often the most deafening. Last night, the peaceful facade of Emmerdale was shattered, leaving behind a wake of unimaginable terror and tangled destinies. As the first tendrils of dawn creep over the dales, they illuminate not hope, but the stark reality of lives irrevocably altered. A loyal heart, poisoned by deceit, a trapped soul, desperately fighting for air, a mother's grief, spiraling into dangerous obsession, and a community unknowingly teetering on the precipice of a truth that could shatter them all. Welcome back to Emmerdale, where secrets buried deep beneath the picturesque landscape are about to claw their way to the surface, demanding a price far greater than anyone could have imagined. The air in John's supposedly idyllic new home is thick with the scent of treachery and the metallic tang of fear. Aaron Dingle, usually a whirlwind of restless energy, lies inert on the floor, his vibrant spirit dimmed by the potent sedative John, his own husband, has cruelly administered. His breathing is shallow, ragged, a faint whisper against the oppressive quiet. John, no longer the enthusiastic, loving partner, kneels beside him, his face a mask of chilling determination. The syringe, its deadly contents now spent, glints malevolently in the dim light filtering through the window. This isn't the man Aaron promised his future to, this is a predator, cloaked in the guise of devotion. From within the makeshift prison in the cellar, a guttural groan escapes Mackenzie Boyd's lips. The rough brickwork scrapes against his already raw wrists, the chains biting deep into his flesh. Every breath is a struggle, every movement a fresh agony. He slams his shoulder against the wall, a futile attempt to dislodge the stones that hold him captive, the faint rattle of bricks a pathetic counterpoint to the thunderous pounding in his chest. His mind, still reeling from John's venomous accusations during their helpline call, struggles to process the dizzying layers of betrayal. Was John truly capable of this? And what did he mean, "Aaron needs me now"? A cold dread, far more terrifying than his physical torment, begins to seep into Mac's bones. He's not just a prisoner, he's a witness to an unfolding horror, powerless to intervene. Upstairs, John carefully lifts Aaron, his movements disturbingly gentle, almost tender, a grotesque parody of care. He carries him to the sofa, arranging him as if for a peaceful slumber, pulling a blanket over his unmoving form. His eyes, usually filled with an open warmth, are now disturbingly vacant, alight with a chilling possessiveness. "There, my love," he murmurs, stroking Aaron's hair, a gesture that sends shivers down the spine. "You'll be safe here. With me. Always." The words are a chilling echo of his earlier manipulation, a perverse declaration of love that masks a suffocating control. He glances at his phone, the last, frantic conversation with Mackenzie replaying in his mind. "You warned me," he mutters, a twisted smile playing on his lips. "And now, it's your fault, Mac. All your fault." He retrieves a small, leather-bound journal from a hidden compartment in the mantelpiece, its pages filled with neat, obsessive handwriting. His fingers trace the words, a meticulously crafted narrative of his love for Aaron, intertwining with dark resentments and an escalating paranoia about anyone who might threaten their bond, particularly Robert Sugden, the ghost of Aaron's past. This journal is not just a diary, it's a manifesto, a justification for the monstrous acts he's about to commit, and a chilling testament to his fractured psyche. Meanwhile, a different kind of storm brews at the Dingle household. Charity, her eyes swollen from weeping, struggles to compose herself. The gravity of Mackenzie's silent departure weighs on her like a lead shroud. She looks at Moses, engrossed in a cartoon, his innocent laughter a stark contrast to the churning agony in her heart. Moira, ever the rock, offers a sympathetic glance. "You can do this, love," she reassures, her voice soft but firm. He deserves to know. Charity nods, a deep, shuddering breath filling her lungs. She turns off the television, the sudden silence amplifying her racing heartbeat. "Moses," she begins, her voice barely a whisper, "Mum needs to tell you something." The boy's bright eyes meet hers, a flicker of curiosity turning to apprehension as he senses the unspoken grief. "Mac," she struggles, he's not coming back." The words, heavy with finality, hang in the air, a devastating pronouncement. Moses's face crumples, his small world collapsing around him. "Why didn't he tell me?" he asks, his voice barely audible, thick with burgeoning tears. Charity kneels, pulling him into a tight embrace, her own tears mingling with his. "He wanted to, sweetheart, he really did," she whispers, her voice cracking, "but I I told him not to. I'm so sorry. She recounts Mac's message, of his love, his sadness, the promise of missing their film nights and farting competitions, details she hated but knows Moses cherished. The boy sobs into her shoulder, a sound that tears at Charity's very soul. I miss him, he chokes out. Me too, my love, Charity murmurs, holding him tighter, a primal ache for the man who was both her torment and her joy. But even as she comforts her son, a flicker of something dark ignites within her, a smoldering rage against Mac for abandoning them, and a terrifying, desperate need to understand why. This isn't just grief, it's a seed of vengeance beginning to sprout. Across the village, Tracy Robinson is caught in her own tempest of unanswered questions. The conversation with Liam, though meant to reassure, has only fueled her insidious doubts about Owen's guilt in Nate's murder. She sits in the cafe, stirring her untouched tea, her gaze distant, fixed on a world invisible to others. It just doesn't sit right, she confides to David, who listens with a mixture of concern and exasperation. The evidence, the confession. It's too neat. Too easy. She recounts Nate's obsession with his mother's elaborate first day of school photos, a detail that now feels chillingly poignant. He wanted to do that for Frankie, she whispers, her voice thick with unshed tears. And I couldn't. It felt wrong without him. David tries to soothe her, reminding her of the pain of reopening old wounds, but his words fall on deaf ears. Tracy's mind is a labyrinth of hypotheticals, each turn leading her closer to a terrifying conclusion. What if Nate's killer is still out there? What if Mackenzie's disappearance isn't just abandonment, but something far more sinister, connected to the same dark forces that claimed Nate? Her grief, initially paralyzing, is now transforming into a fierce, almost reckless determination. She can't fail Nate again. She won't. She pulls at her phone, her fingers hovering over Liam's number, then a private investigator she'd once glimpsed advertised in a local paper, a ghost of a lead that suddenly feels like a lifeline. She is becoming a detective of her own tragedy, oblivious to the dangers her pursuit of truth might unleash. Back at John's, the clock ticks, a relentless march of time towards an unknown horror. John, after ensuring Aaron is deeply unconscious, descends into the cellar. The air is damp, heavy, echoing with the muffled sounds of Mackenzie's struggles. Mac's eyes, wild with desperation, lock onto John's. John. He rasps, his voice hoarse. What have you done? What have you done to Aaron? John's face is devoid of emotion, a chilling mask. He's safe, Mac, he replies, his voice unnervingly calm, far safer than he'd ever be with you, or with Robert. He leans in, his words dripping with venom. You see, Mac, I know everything. Everything you said on that call, every lie you told, every truth you twisted. Mac, despite his fear, manages a sardonic, weak laugh. What are you talking about? I didn't say anything. John cuts him off, his voice rising, edged with a terrifying madness. You said Aaron didn't love me. You said he missed Robert. You planted those seeds of doubt, didn't you? Trying to poison his mind, just like you poison everything you touch. Mackenzie, despite the haze of pain, registers the profound delusion in John's eyes. This isn't just anger, it's a complete break from reality. John, listen to me, he pleads, his voice strained. Aaron loves you. He told me so, before all this. You're misunderstanding. You're hurting him. John laughs, a harsh, brittle sound that chills Mac to the bone. Hurt him? I'm saving him. From himself, from you, from Robert, from anyone who would drag him back into the darkness. I know about the kiss, Mac. On their wedding day. I know about all of it. He deserved better, and I'm giving it to him. He pulls at his phone, replaying a distorted snippet of the conversation with Mackenzie edited and manipulated to confirm his warped narrative. Mac stares, horrified, as he realizes the depth of John's psychological torment. He wasn't just talking to a concerned volunteer, he was talking to a man consumed by a toxic, possessive love, filtering every word through a lens of paranoia and delusion. Suddenly, John turns his attention back to Aaron. He pulls out a small, old-fashioned pocket watch, its delicate ticking a stark contrast to the brutal reality of the situation. I reckon we're ready to say our vows now, he whispers, his voice unnervingly cheerful, mirroring the memory of Aaron's wedding to Robert. Robert? Miss me? He then begins to mumble, echoing the transcribed words, blurring the lines between past and present, between his own warped desires and Aaron's genuine affection. He reenacts a twisted version of Erin's wedding day confession, the words "I slept with Robert" becoming a mantra, a weapon. He looks at Mac, his eyes gleaming with triumph. "You see, Mac? He doesn't need Robert. He has me now. I am all for him." Mac, shackled and helpless, watches in a terror-struck silence as John descends deeper into his psychosis, believing he is saving Erin, when in fact, he is destroying him. The terrifying realization hits Mac: John isn't just unstable, he's actively dangerous, convinced he's on a righteous path. The sound of John's manic laughter echoes through the old stone walls, a macabre soundtrack to Mac's futile struggle against his chains. His mind races, desperate for an escape. He notices a loose brick near the floor, slightly dislodged from his earlier efforts. With renewed, frantic energy, he begins to pry at it, wincing with every painful scrape against his wrists. Time is running out, not just for him, but for Erin. Back in the Dingles, Charity's anguish is palpable. After Moses finally drifts into a tearful sleep, she finds herself drawn to the living room, staring blankly at the walls. The emptiness of the house without Mac feels like a physical ache. She pulls at her phone, scrolling through old photos of Mac and Moses, their laughter, their bond a stark reminder of what they've lost. A fresh wave of fury washes over her. How could he just send a text? How could he abandon Moses, who adored him? She remembers Tracy's words: "Mackenzie and Charity have been through so much stress lately. And that's why he's gone." The words resonate, but also ignite a spark of defiance. No. It couldn't just be stress. There was more to it, she felt it in her gut. She vividly recalls the frantic tone in Mac's voice during their last, rushed call, the unspoken urgency she dismissed as an argument. A nagging suspicion, once a whisper, now grows into a clamor. She remembers his bizarre message: "I've gone for a drive. Just need some space." But why no bag? Why no word to anyone else? She had to find him. Not just for Moses, but for herself. She wouldn't let him simply vanish into thin air, leaving questions unanswered and hearts broken. She dials Kane's number, a steely resolve hardening her features. "Kane," she begins, her voice firm, "I need your help. I think something's wrong with Mac." Meanwhile, Tracy, fueled by her own gnawing fear, makes a bold decision. She ignores Liam's sensible advice and instead calls the private investigator, Mr. Davis, whose average she'd found online. Her voice, though trembling slightly, is resolute. "I need you to look into something," she explains, her words tumbling out in a rush. "It's about Nate's death. And Owen. I don't believe Owen killed him. And I think it might be connected to Mackenzie's disappearance." Mr. Davis, a gruff but experienced man, listens patiently. "It's going to be expensive, love," he warns. Tracy doesn't flinch. "I don't care. I need to know the truth. For Frankie. For Nate." Her determination is fierce, almost reckless. She provides him with all the details she has, the timeline of events, the inconsistencies, the lingering doubts. She is convinced there's a killer still at large, and she's unknowingly putting herself, and potentially others, in grave danger by stirring a nest of vipers. Back in the suffocating confines of the cellar, Mackenzie continues his desperate struggle against the bricks. Sweat beads on his brow, his muscles screaming in protest, but he refuses to give up. The loose brick finally gives way, revealing a small, dark crevice behind it. It's not an escape route, but it's a start. He can hear John's increasingly erratic ramblings from upstairs, interspersed with Erin's shallow breathing. The urgency intensifies. He has to get out, not just for himself, but for Erin. As the day wears on, the chilling reality of John's actions becomes horrifyingly clear. He brings Erin a glass of water, gently tipping it to his lips, his touch possessive. He hums a lullaby, a melody twisted into a sinister serenade. His journal lies open on the table, filled with obsessive entries about securing Erin's love, of eliminating threats, of their perfect, isolated future. He paces, a man on the edge of a precipice, convinced of his righteous cause. Suddenly, a loud banging at the front door jolts John. He freezes, his eyes wide with panic. Jez, determined to speak to John again about Dylan and Eve, stands on the doorstep, her face etched with a mixture of anger and concern. "John. I know you're in there," she calls out, her voice sharp. John quickly closes his journal, his mind racing. He can't let Chaz see Erin like this. He can't let her disrupt his carefully constructed fantasy. He tries to compose himself, smoothing his hair and attempting to appear nonchalant, before slowly opening the door. "Chiz," he says, forcing a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. What a surprise. Chiz, however, is not easily fooled. Her gaze sweeps past him, searching for Aaron. "Where's Aaron? I need to talk to him." He wasn't answering his phone. John quickly steps to block her view. He's resting. Not feeling well. He had a bit too much to drink last night, celebrating the new kitchen. Chaz narrows her eyes. Too much to drink? Aaron? Since when does he get too much to drink in the morning? And why isn't he answering his phone? Her suspicion grows, a cold knot forming in her stomach. John, feeling the pressure mount, tries to deflect. "Look, Chaz, I really don't appreciate you barging in here. Aaron needs his rest. And honestly, after what you said yesterday, I don't think you're helping." Chaz scoffs, pushing past him slightly, trying to peer into the living room. "What I said yesterday was the truth, John. And I'm worried about Eve, and about Aaron. Something's not right here." As she pushes further, her foot brushes against something on the floor, the discarded syringe, hidden clumsily beneath a rug. Her blood runs cold. She stoops, her hand trembling as she picks it up. "What is this, John?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper, a chilling premonition seizing her. John's carefully constructed facade crumbles. His eyes dart nervously, his face draining of color. It's nothing. Just some old medical supplies. From when I was in the army, you know." But Chaz isn't buying it. Her years of dealing with complicated family dynamics and dangerous situations have honed her instincts. This isn't just a drunk Aaron, this is something far more sinister. She stares at the syringe, then at John, a horrifying realization dawning on her. You drugged him, didn't you?" she accuses, her voice rising in a horrified crescendo. John's eyes, now devoid of all pretense, blaze with a manic intensity. "I saved him, Chaz. I saved him from himself. From Robert. From all of you who would tear us apart." At that moment, from the cellar, Mackenzie's desperate cries become faintly audible. "Help! Aaron! John!" The muffled sounds, though faint, are enough to pierce through Chaz's shock. Her head snaps towards the floor, her eyes widening in terror. "What was that? Who's down there, John?" John lunges, grabbing Chaz's arm with surprising force. His strength, fueled by his delusion, is formidable. "You don't understand, Chaz. You're going to ruin everything. Our future. Aaron needs me." He tries to wrench the syringe from her hand, but Chaz holds on tight, her mind racing. She sees the madness in his eyes, the terrifying conviction that he is doing the right thing. This isn't just an argument, this is a life-or-death struggle. In the cellar, Mackenzie, hearing Chaz's raised voice and sensing the escalating chaos upstairs, redoubles his efforts. The loose brick finally comes free, leaving a small opening just big enough for him to squeeze his hand through. He can feel the rough earth and stones, a faint breath of cool air, a sliver of hope. He strains, trying to widen the gap, his body screaming in protest. Upstairs, the struggle between Chaz and John intensifies. John, desperate to silence her, pushes her violently towards the living room. As she stumbles, her eyes fall upon Aaron, lying motionless on the sofa, pale and unresponsive. The horrifying truth slams into her with the force of a physical blow. Her brother, her precious Aaron, is in grave danger, at the hands of the man he loved. "Aaron!" she screams, a raw, primal cry of anguish and fear. John, seeing Aaron, seems to snap further. He pulls Chaz away from the living room, a terrifying glint in his eye. "He's fine, Chaz. He's just resting. You're the one who's causing trouble." He grabs her, attempting to drag her towards the front door, his intention clear, to get her out, to contain his dark secret. But Chaz fights back with a ferocity born of terror for her brother. She kicks, scratches, struggles against his grip, her mind frantically searching for a way out, a way to save Aaron. As they struggle, Chaz manages to break free for a split second, grabbing a heavy, decorative vase from a nearby table. Without hesitation, she swings it, bringing it down hard on John's head. There's a sickening thud. John cries out, his eyes wide with shock and pain, before his legs buckle and he slumps to the floor, unconscious. Chaz stands over him, panting, the vase still clutched in her trembling hand. Her heart pounds like a war drum against her ribs. She stares at John's unconscious form, then at the syringe in her other hand, then at the living room where Aaron lies. The cellar groans, a faint, metallic clang echoing from below Mackenzie. Her mind, reeling from the adrenaline and shock, slowly begins to connect the pieces. John, the drugs, Aaron unconscious, Mackenzie trapped. A horrifying conspiracy, born of a twisted mind. She drops the vase, her hands shaking as she rushes to Aaron's side. "Aaron! Aaron, can you hear me?" she cries, gently slapping his cheek, trying to rouse him. He stirs faintly, a weak groan escaping his lips, but remains unresponsive. His breathing is still shallow, his pulse weak. Chaz's medical instincts, though rusty, kick in. She needs help, and fast. Her gaze falls on John's phone, lying on the floor where he dropped it during the struggle. She snatches it up, her fingers fumbling as she tries to unlock it. She desperately needs to call for an ambulance, to call Kane, to call anyone. But as she looks at the phone, a chilling thought strikes her. What if John has incriminating evidence on here? What if there are other victims? Down in the cellar, Mackenzie finally dislodges another brick, creating a slightly larger opening. He can now see a sliver of the garden outside, a glimpse of freedom. He tries to shout again, his voice raw, hoping Chaz will hear him. "Chaz! Aaron!" Chaz, hearing the muffled calls, freezes. She quickly moves to the cellar door, her heart pounding. "Mackenzie? Is that you?" she calls out, her voice filled with disbelief and a renewed sense of urgency. "Are you down there?" Chaz: "Yes. He's got me trapped. Aaron. He drugged Aaron." Mackenzie cries back, his voice thick with desperation. The full, horrifying scope of John's depravity now stares Chaz in the face. She has to save them both. She glances back at the unconscious John, then at the phone in her hand. This isn't just about saving Aaron and Mackenzie, it's about uncovering the truth, exposing a monster hidden in plain sight. She makes a split-second decision. First, Aaron. Then, Mackenzie. And then, the world will know what John has done. She frantically searches the living room for anything that might help rouse Aaron, her mind a whirlwind of fear and grim determination. She knows she needs to act quickly, before John wakes up, before Aaron's condition worsens. The tranquil village of Emmerdale, usually a haven of quiet lives, is now a stage for a terrifying drama, where love has twisted into obsession, and trust has shattered into betrayal. The clock ticks on, each second bringing new danger, new revelations, and the chilling promise that the lives of Aaron, Mackenzie, and everyone connected to them, will never be the same again. This is just the beginning of their nightmare, and the audience, breathless with anticipation, will be right there with them, desperate for answers. The Dales are about to weep. _